Welcome to World of Books, where life-changing ideas are brought to life in just a few minutes. Every episode, we unlock the wisdom hidden in the world's most influential books, ideas that can sharpen your mind, inspire action, and sometimes completely change your direction in life. Today, we open the pages of a financial classic, a book that has challenged millions to rethink what they know about money. It's not about quick tips or get-rich schemes. It's about rewiring the way you think about work, wealth, and freedom. This is the story of two fathers, two mindsets, and the life lessons that turned a curious boy into a man who built his fortune by making money work for him. Let's step into Robert Kiyosaki's world and discover why his message still echoes across the globe decades later. This isn't just a pile of pages, it's a roadmap, a mirror, and sometimes a wake-up call. We're about to unpack its big ideas, the personal stories that bring them to life, and the lessons you can start applying today. Standing between two completely different role models, Robert started to notice that money wasn't just about how much you earned, it was about how you thought about it. That realization sets the stage for his story. Robert Kiyosaki didn't grow up learning about money from textbooks or investment seminars. Instead, his financial education came from two very different father figures. His biological father, whom he calls his poor dad, was highly educated, held a stable government job, and believed deeply in the traditional path. Get good grades, secure a safe career, and rely on a steady paycheck. He valued security over risk, and thought financial success came from academic achievement and climbing the corporate ladder. The other influence was his best friend's father, his rich dad. This man never finished 8th grade, but he was a shrewd entrepreneur who owned businesses, invested in real estate, and built wealth by making money work for him. Rich Dad taught young Robert that schools rarely teach how money really works, and that true wealth comes from acquiring assets, creating passive income, and thinking like an investor instead of an employee. Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad to bridge the gap between formal education and financial literacy. He wanted to show readers that it's not how much you earn, but how you manage and grow your money that counts. The book encourages people to break free from the cycle of work hard, spend, and hope for retirement, and instead adopt the mindset and habits of wealth builders. His target readers are everyday people, especially beginners in personal finance, who feel trapped in jobs, uncertain about their financial future, or curious about how to create independence. Whether you're a young adult just starting out, a mid-career worker stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck grind, or someone looking to escape the rat race, Kiyosaki's lessons are aimed at you. As Robert grew older, the lessons from his two dads started to take shape, each one turning into a principle that would later form the backbone of his book. And the 6 main lessons are: the rich don't work for money. A childhood job in Rich Dad's store teaches Robert that chasing a paycheck can blind you to bigger opportunities. Why teach financial literacy? The difference between assets and liabilities, and why knowing the difference is the foundation of wealth. Mind your own business. Build and grow your asset column, even while you're working for someone else. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. How the rich legally use corporations to protect and grow their wealth. The rich invent money. Opportunities are everywhere for those trained to see them. The importance of creativity in finance. Work to learn. Don't work for money. Focus on acquiring skills, sales, marketing, investing, rather than just earning a salary. After these lessons, Kiyosaki includes sections on overcoming obstacles, getting started with investing, and why giving time, money, knowledge can accelerate wealth. The story framework is simple but effective. Kiyosaki alternates between moments as a boy asking questions, receiving surprising lessons from Rich Dad, and comparing them to the conventional advice from Poor Dad. He often uses small conflicts, moments of doubt, confusion, or fear, to show how Rich Dad's advice clashed with mainstream thinking, then resolves these through explanation and practical examples. This personal narrative style makes abstract concepts like cash flow or leveraging taxes easier to grasp, even for readers with no financial background. At the heart of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a simple but powerful distinction: assets versus liabilities. In Kiyosaki's terms, an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket: rental property generating monthly rent, stocks paying dividends, a business producing profit without your daily presence. A liability, on the other hand, is anything that takes money out of your pocket: a big mortgage, a car loan, credit card debt. The catch, Kiyosaki notes, is that many people mistakenly call liabilities assets because they have resale value. Your house, for example, might appreciate over time, but if it's costing you money every month instead of paying you, it's a liability in the short term. Though the cash flow quadrant would become the title of his next book, Kiyosaki plants its seeds here. He explains that most people live in the E quadrant, employee, or S quadrant, self-employed, trading time for money. The wealthy, however, tend to operate in the B quadrant, business owner, and I quadrant, investor, where systems and capital generate income. The lesson: you must shift quadrants if you want true financial independence. This is why financial literacy is the foundation of everything Kiyosaki teaches. Understanding how to read financial statements, track cash flow, evaluate investments, and spot market trends is more valuable than a high salary. Without these skills, even a windfall of money can vanish quickly. Rich Dad also instilled an entrepreneurial mindset, to constantly look for opportunities rather than clinging to job security. Instead of asking, "Can I afford it?" ask, "How can I afford it?" This subtle shift turns obstacles into creative challenges. From there, the focus turns to passive income. Kiyosaki defines it as money earned with little or no daily effort, income streams from assets that continue to pay you whether you're working or not. Building passive income takes time, but once established, it gives you freedom to choose how you spend your days. Another key insight is the use of corporations and taxes. The rich legally structure their businesses to pay expenses before taxes, take advantage of deductions, and protect their wealth. It's not about evading taxes, but about playing by the rules more skillfully than the average employee. Finally, Rich Dad warned that even the best financial strategy will fail if you don't address emotional barriers. Fear of losing money, cynicism about opportunities, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance can all keep people trapped in the rat race. Learning to manage these emotions, especially fear, is as important as mastering balance sheets. These weren't abstract theories for Robert. They came to life in real conversations, real choices, and sometimes uncomfortable experiments. Robert Kiyosaki grew up hearing two completely different voices on money. On one side was Rich Dad, who taught him that wealth comes from thinking differently about risk, and opportunity. On the other was Poor Dad, his biological father, who embodied the conventional wisdom of the time: study hard, get a secure job, climb the career ladder, and count on a pension or retirement plan. Rich Dad's lessons were anything but conventional. He challenged young Robert to see money as a tool rather than a goal. One of his earliest teachings came through what seemed like an unfair deal. He had Robert and his friend Mike work in his store for little or no pay. The point wasn't to make them work harder. It was to break their dependence on a paycheck. Rich Dad wanted them to start noticing opportunities all around them, like the chance to create a small comic book library from old magazines, charging neighborhood kids a fee to read. It was a simple experiment, but it opened Robert's eyes to the concept of creating assets that generated income without his constant effort. Poor Dad's mindset, in contrast, revolved around security and academic success. He believed that the path to financial stability was paved with degrees, job titles, and loyalty to an employer. To him, debt was dangerous, risk was reckless, and the safest plan was to live below your means and save consistently. While these values protected him from financial disaster, they also kept him tied to a salary, unable to escape the cycle of working to pay bills. Several key anecdotes cemented Rich Dad's influence. Beyond the comic book venture, there was the first property Robert purchased, inspired by Rich Dad's philosophy. He bought a small home at a bargain price, quickly resold it for a profit, and reinvested the gains into other properties. Another lasting story was Rich Dad's explanation of assets and liabilities using his own financial statements as examples, showing exactly why the rich grow richer while others struggle. The rich buy things that put money into their pockets, while the poor and middle class often buy things that quietly drain it. By living between these two opposing mindsets, Robert saw firsthand how beliefs shape financial outcomes. Rich Dad's approach taught him to chase opportunities, build passive income, and think like an owner, while Poor Dad's example showed him the limitations of relying solely on formal education and a steady job. The tension between these two philosophies is the engine that drives the entire book. Over the years, these moments built into a collection of lessons, not the kind you find in a school textbook, but the kind you remember for a lifetime. In the beginning, Robert works for Rich Dad's store for a token wage, and then for nothing at all. The frustration is intentional. Rich Dad wants him to see that chasing a paycheck limits vision. The real goal is to spot opportunities others miss and find ways to earn beyond wages. Financial principle: money should work for you. Your value lies in your ability to create income streams, not just earn them. Practical application: stop waiting for raises. Start building or acquiring assets that keep paying you whether you work or not. Later, Rich Dad challenges Robert's assumption that a house is an asset. He draws a simple diagram showing that an asset puts money into your pocket, while a liability takes it out, even if that liability looks like an investment. Financial principle: the foundation of wealth is owning assets and minimizing liabilities. Practical application: track your income and expenses carefully, and deliberately grow your asset column while reducing drains on your finances. While Robert still holds jobs, Rich Dad tells him to mind your own business. A salary is fine, but it should be a stepping stone, not the end goal. Financial principle: use your job as a platform to invest in ventures that you own and control. Practical application: set aside part of your earnings to invest in income-producing properties, stocks, or small businesses. Rich Dad also reveals how taxes, originally meant to target the wealthy, now mostly burden the working class, and how the rich legally use corporations to protect wealth. Financial principle: structure your finances strategically. Legal entities can provide tax advantages, liability protection, and reinvestment opportunities. Practical application: learn how business structures work and seek professional advice to apply them appropriately. When Robert hesitates on deals that seem risky, Rich Dad reminds him that wealth often comes from seeing what others overlook. He shares examples where quick thinking and knowledge turned overlooked opportunities into profits. Financial principle: financial intelligence allows you to invent money by identifying and acting on opportunities. Practical application: build skills in market analysis, networking, and deal-making so you can move confidently when chances arise. Finally, Rich Dad encourages Robert to take jobs for the skills they offer, not for the paycheck. Sales, marketing, investing, each adds a tool to his financial toolkit. Financial principle: the more diverse your skills, the more ways you can create and manage wealth. Practical application: seek out work and projects that develop valuable abilities like negotiation, communication, and financial analysis. In closing, Robert reflects on common roadblocks: fear, doubt, laziness, bad habits, arrogance, and how discipline, curiosity, and generosity helped him overcome them. Financial principle: mastering your mindset is as vital as mastering money. Practical application: address personal barriers, keep learning, and commit to giving back as part of your wealth-building journey. Of course, not everyone can apply these ideas exactly as written, and some parts of the story have sparked debate. While Rich Dad Poor Dad has inspired millions, its advice doesn't apply equally to every reader or situation. One of the biggest criticisms is that Kiyosaki's stories, while engaging, are difficult to verify, and some suspect that Rich Dad may be a composite character rather than a single real person. For some, this blurs the line between memoir and parable. The book also tends to simplify complex financial realities. The distinction between assets and liabilities, though useful as a mental model, overlooks nuances like market fluctuations, liquidity, and personal circumstances. Likewise, the idea of buying property or starting businesses sounds appealing, but in practice these paths carry significant risk, require capital, and demand experience that beginners may not yet have. Another limitation is that Kiyosaki's advice assumes a level of financial stability and risk tolerance that not everyone has. People living paycheck to paycheck, dealing with debt, or supporting dependents may find it difficult to invest or start a business without jeopardizing their immediate needs. Finally, the focus on entrepreneurship and investing over traditional employment can unintentionally downplay the value of steady jobs, especially for those who enjoy their work or rely on the security it provides. Not everyone wants to, or should, become a business owner or investor full-time. Despite these criticisms, the book's strength lies in shifting the reader's mindset, from seeing money as something you earn to something you can grow. But the principles often require adaptation to fit different financial situations, levels of risk tolerance, and life stages. Of course, not everyone can apply these ideas exactly as written, and some parts of the story have sparked debate. Still, at its heart, This book delivers one timeless message, one that can completely change how you see money. So, whether you're just starting your financial journey or you've been grinding for years without moving forward, remember, you don't have to work for money all your life. You can learn to make money work for you. The richest investment you'll ever make is in your own mind. Start building your financial literacy. Seek opportunities others overlook, and take small, consistent steps toward freedom. If this summary lit a spark for you, imagine what diving into the full book could do. Keep growing, keep learning, and keep turning pages that turn your life around. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe to World of Books for more life-changing ideas, and share this with someone who needs that push to start their own journey toward financial freedom. The right book at the right time can change everything.